This is the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast, your source for the strategies, systems, and smarts you need to turn possibility into purpose. Every week, we dive into dynamic conversations as our host, Nicole Greer, interviews leadership and business experts. They're here to shed light on practical solutions to the challenges of personal and professional development. Now, here's your host, a professional speaker, coach, and consultant, Nicole Greer.
Welcome, everybody, to the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. My name is Nicole Greer, and they call me the Vibrant Coach. And I have two new friends I got this year. I have AJ and Taylor here, and they have an amazing dental practice in Mint Hill and 3 other locations where they are doing fabulous work in building a vibrant culture. Let me tell you a little bit first about my good friend, AJ. So AJ was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. His mom was a 3rd grade teacher, and he turned out so good. See, these mamas that are the teachers, they turn out the good boys. And his dad was an entrepreneur, opening the first indoor golf facility in the U.S. in the early 90s. Oh, I'm curious. What does he think about the Top Golf? We'll get that answered. All right. So while AJ went on to become a dentist, that entrepreneurial spirit in his dad has always stuck with him, and it has led him to open 4 dental offices in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is a feat, let me tell you. All right. And then his sidekick is Taylor. All right. So Taylor was born and raised in Richfield, North Carolina. Her mom had always encouraged her to look at the dental practice, become a hygienist, and maybe go to college for that. She was on the fence, maybe a nurse, maybe the dental thing. I'm not sure, but she ended up becoming the right-hand woman of this entire practice, where she has 4 locations underneath her management with 30 people that she is developing and growing and building a vibrant culture. So she started working with a small town dentist, and now she's working with a bunch of dentists at the Mint Hill practice. I'm so glad to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So I think you guys are like unicorns, because I got a phone call from AJ, and he's like, hey, we're going to do this day where we're going to work on our culture, and we're going to like love on our people, and we'd like you to come. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to come. So tell me, what is it about you and your group and your practice where you guys think, let's get everybody together, shut down, not make money today. Don't miss that, everybody. And actually spend money and time and energy on our people. AJ, why don't you start us out? What prompts that?
Sure. For us, or for me, it's culture always wins.
Yeah.
You know, you can have strategy, you can have other things, but culture always wins. And we've always kind of prided ourselves, even before I got to the practice, that was always a big thing, focusing on culture. We could feel, we hadn't done anything probably in a year and a half, 2 years. We got so involved in the day-to-day that we kind of took a step back, and we could feel it a little bit, with just small little things. You hear small little things here and there. And we sat down and we're like, this is such an important thing. We need to do something here. So I had met you previously and kind of chatted with you a little bit about certain things. I was like, you're my first call. I was like, I'm going to reach out to Nicole, going to get this set up. And I can't tell you how much of an impact it had on the team. We've brought people to certain things before, and there's always been like, oh, this was good. I didn't like this, or this part really stuck with me. But I can tell you from the day we had, especially with your portion, it was a huge hit. And I felt like, and Taylor can talk a little bit more because she's more involved with seeing some of the stuff, but I feel like a lot of the small little things that we were dealing with kind of went away, which was big.
Yeah, and it's absolutely big. Well, thank you for your kind words. But, here's the thing that I tell everybody. Like, if the people in charge of this organization are not sold out on culture, no matter what I bring, it's not going to work. Because it has to have that message coming from, like, dare I say this, like the heads, the hearts, and the souls of the leaders. So Taylor, tell us a little bit about, you're the one in there touching everybody, making sure all the gears are running inside these organizations. Tell us your thoughts about developing culture.
Well, I think that, coming into a well-established practice like Mint Hill is very intimidating, first off. I followed somebody that had been here for 38 years.
Oh, my word.
Yes. So coming into this office, they had such a great thing built, like the culture, everything that you felt the moment that you walked through the door. It was just, it set itself apart automatically. But the biggest thing is, with growing, you have growing pains and you add new people, and you want to make sure that you're doing whatever you can to continue that culture. And like Dr. Tremont said, you heard little things, and we hadn't done anything in a while, but it wasn't for the sake of not wanting to. It's just you get busy and it gets put on the back burner. And we came together and we're like, we really just think that we need time to just focus on each other. And I will say, like, people were skeptical at first about having a team building day. And, we did everything we could in our power to hype it up. We're like, listen, you're going to love it. We hope to make this an annual thing. And people were still like, But the response that we got back afterwards, like as soon as it was done and like the day and weeks and even months after, people are still talking about it. They were like, that was just such a great time because they heard, our itinerary is to sit here and listen to somebody that's going to give us a speech for a couple hours. And we're like,
That sounds
what do you-
terrible.
that sounds horrible. And I said, just give it a chance. I promise you that we're not just going to come here and lecture you. So
That's right.
I know I had a hygienist that came up to me. It was like, she really blew our socks off. Like I was not expecting to sit here and have these hours go by so quickly, but be so like motivated and energized and wanting to do better and build relationships and understanding where people come from. I think it was just eye-opening, and it was something that's needed to keep that relationship amongst, when you have an office this size, the employees, but also between, me and the doctors and the employees, and just making sure that we have a touch base and just something that really says, we truly care about you.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the place that we had it out at that park in
Yes.
Mecklenburg County in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was absolutely gorgeous, and you guys had all the food laid out and fed everybody. Everybody had a full belly, which was so good. But before I started, you guys did like 2 exercises, as I understand. One was you guys went through your core values. And one thing I think is so beautiful about how you're running your practice is that you're not just making a sign, here's our core values and hanging it on the wall in the lobby of all 4 locations, but you're actually talking about your core values and actually nominating people who are living, eating, and breathing these core values. Will you guys talk about your core values a little bit and how they show up? I think other leaders and other entrepreneurs need to kind of hear, how do you do that exactly? And you guys are doing it.
Yeah, we've been through some exercises. So we use EOS now as our operating system
Yeah.
to run a business. And prior to that, we had a longer, like a day session where we kind of went through and distilled everything. And then we did it again with EOS and we kind of clarified and changed a couple things. But it really it takes time.
Absolutely.
Like it's so hard because in the day-to-day of any business, there are just so many things to do. There's so many fires to put out. There's always something going on. You're like, it's so easy to push this stuff off, but it's so important. So for us, it was just scheduling time. Anyone can do it. If you can schedule the time and actually put it on the calendar and follow through and just sit down. The way we did it was like, pick people that have been there a really long time who you're like, if I could clone this person, I would clone them 10 times over. And then it was like, okay, what traits did they have? And that was kind of how we worked our way through it and kind of helped clarify things a little bit. And the other thing with that too is the core values. It's just, like you said, they're just words, like when you put that up and everyone's like, well, you guys came up with this. I don't know if I fit into it. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to explain a little bit and tell people why it's important, but everyone has their own why. So it's like, just because we say something doesn't mean that's going to be their why, or like we're doing this to be difference makers, or we're doing this because this and this. And I know when I told that to people one time, it almost was like a sense of relief, because I think sometimes when you come with those things and you're so dogmatic about it's got to be this, got to be this, got to be this.
Right.
people are
Like a demand or something.
Yeah, they're like, well, I don't know if that necessarily speaks to me. So just giving people that freedom a little bit within it, that it doesn't have to be exactly this, but these are our guideposts. This is what we're looking for. If you don't follow these, it's just kind of not within what we're looking for. So it's good guideposts, but I don't think following them to like an exact T is always beneficial, because it doesn't always speak to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that day you guys had a sheet of paper at your like annual retreat, and it was like, here's our core values.
Mhm.
Please tell us the story of somebody and who their name is and how they're living out that core value. I'm wondering if you could pull it up out of the recesses of your brain, a core value, and maybe an example, and give a shout out to one of your amazing people that they've lived out one of those core values. Can you kind of tell me a story about that?
Well, speaking from like the front desk more so than clinical, we have one team member, and I find her whole situation just so unique, is Sylvia. She is a person that came in here with no dental experience, no dental background, and we had molded and shaped her into like understanding dental, and like she loves to learn and just figure out new things. And she's one of those people that goes above and beyond, is going to take that extra mile and figure out what she can do to help the patient or help the practice. Anything you ask of her, she's going to try and do it to the best of her ability. If she doesn't know it, she's going to do what she can to research it. And she's just one of those people that you go up to, that you have just her energy that she brings to the table and the smile on her face and just the compassion and the little touches that she has and how she talks and when she schedules and the relationship building and all the things. Like, I feel like she's a very good example of a selfless person that also lives up to like our core values. Because at the end of the day, you know, we're here to make a difference in people's lives. I know that sounds like cliche because I know that's in part of our like mission and vision statement, but that's ultimately what it is. Because I feel like a lot of times dental kind of gets overlooked. It's not one thing that's like taught in school, so you don't really like hear about it quite often. But what people don't see is that people coming into the dental office, the amount of anxiety that is behind that
Oh
is
my God.
crazy, and it's in all different ways. So being able to be that comfort and like build that relationship with patients and understand where they're coming from, I think that she exceeds all the expectations in that.
Yeah,
To that
that's great.
too, with Sylvia, as far as going above and beyond one of our core values, there was a patient in assisted living, and her son would drive in from Raleigh to bring her in to the office so that she could have something done with her denture. Sylvia, one time, to help them because it was so difficult, she actually drove over to the assisted living house, which is 25 minutes away, picked it up for them, brought it back, took it to the lab, and was able to do all of that for them so they didn't have to leave. So that, I mean, most people aren't going to do that. I would say 99.9% of people are not going to
No.
do it, but she just wants to help, you know, and that was a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said. Well, two things I want to say about that story, which is really we need to point out so nobody misses it, is that she didn't have experience, but she had the right character traits. Right.
Mhm.
And so to me, that is like half the battle because those of you listening, and I bet you two can relate to, is that sometimes I was like, I'm going to hire this one because I like how they handle themselves and I'll teach them what they need to know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think sometimes like character first, core values first. And if we think about core values are popped up on top of traits we want people to live out or behaviors we want to see in people. And so you said this thing, Taylor, that was so good. She was selfless, right? Like this woman cannot chew her dinner because her denture has got something wrong with it, right? I mean, this is big stuff
Mhm.
to people, right? Like it's how they live their life. That's so good. All right. So we've got the core values. So you guys are, and don't miss, Taylor dropped in our mission statement and our vision statement. So we've got leaders on the show today that actually do this stuff. Not as like some kind of rote experience, but like as like living, eating, and breathing it. So so she mentioned it. Will you guys talk a little bit about your mission and vision and how you use that in your leadership and the growth of your practice?
Yeah. So the biggest thing when we kind of started all this was we want to build something that was different. So there's tons of DSOs out there. There's, you know, hundreds of thousands of dental offices, but we wanted to build something different.
Yeah.
Mid-Hill's always kind of been different, but the problem we had was how do we scale culture and how do we scale what we have here?
Mhm.
And it was quite a challenge. So we had to do a ton of work on the front end of figuring out what is our vision, what is our mission? Because if we don't have that clear why, with how hard things get and the growing pains Taylor alluded to a little bit,
Yep.
it's easy just to kind of give up because you're like, this is a lot. This is too much. So if you don't have that strong mission and vision behind it, it's never going to work. So for us, that was huge because that's always kind of keeps you going in the back room. When you have a hard day or there's something that happens at an office, it keeps you going. And to the point that we want to build something different, each office kind of has its own culture and there's not a same name for every office. They're all individual. They all have their own personalities. They all are a little bit different in every way. So we didn't want to build nothing against some of these other bigger ones, but we didn't want to build the one that's got the name. You have, you know,
Yeah.
500
Smiles a lot dentistry on every corner.
right. You know, 500 locations, and then there's all this bureaucracy. And, you know, to get new forks ordered, you have to go up through 15 people to get it done. So
Right.
for us, back to what Taylor said, we want to build these 5-star practices. So
Oh, I love
it
that.
was always our goal was to build a 5-star practice with a 5-star experience. And then our mission was to be difference makers in people's lives. And people, like I said earlier, people can take that in different ways. So it's just like how they perceive it, can be different to them, and they make it fit for their own. Instead of saying like, this is exactly what it needs to be, they can take that and kind of make it their own.
Right. And it goes towards the customer and it goes towards the employee,
Yeah.
right? So
For sure.
yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Taylor. Did you want to say something?
Well, I was going to say, perception is everything.
100%.
You can say something and you perceive it one way and somebody perceives it completely different. But I think what is the biggest thing that separates us is us being able to have different perceptions, being able to look at it with different lenses. And even though this is what I think of when I say be difference makers in people's lives, you may think something completely different and it's not wrong, but I want you to be able to have that perception, because at the end of the day, if you're making a difference in giving them the best quality of treatment, but people are making a difference in building that relationship and asking them how they're doing, or delivering a denture, it's different aspects, but at the end of the day, it's still meeting that one goal, right? To be a difference. And I think that, like Dr. Tremont said, when you do have such strict values that you're like, no, you have to do it this way, I think that's where we get like the little muddiness, because they're like, well, that doesn't like relate to me at all, And that's why we do have these other offices that are separate names, kind of separate systems, because what works in one area may not work in another. But at the end of the day, the care that you get when you step foot in any of these offices, it's always going to be the same.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. Now you guys are doing the core values and nominating people like Sylvia. So congratulations, Sylvia. You're amazing. So I hope she listens. The second thing you were doing is you had put everybody around a table and everybody was kind of telling their backstory, right? Like, this is where I came from and this is my story. And one of the dentists in your group, I'm going to say he might be one of the first dentists in the group. He was listening to the people at his table, and I got to admit, I was eavesdropping a little bit as I went around listening to these stories. And he said to the one young lady that I bet you he's come in after she's cleaned the teeth a bunch of times to do the look around. And he's like, I never is that what y'all call it? The look around?
Yeah, that's the technical term. The look
Wait,
around.
or the exam. Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
So
Look around sounds better.
yeah. Well, I was going to say this earlier, is that, making a difference. Let me go backwards, everybody. Keep up with me. I'm going backwards. I'm putting it in reverse. So people are scared of the dentist. Like, that's not a secret.
Not a secret. People all come in and say, no offense, but I don't like you. So,
And
they're like,
and
not
it-
you personally, just
Yeah.
the dentist. And you're like, what do you say to that? You're like, oh.
Or they will come in and they will be so angry, and you think that you've done something to offend them, and really they're just so tense and scared that it comes
okay.
off as anger.
Yeah, yeah. And so don't miss that if somebody could turn that around in their life, right? If you had a whole team of people on a mission to make a difference, the biggest difference you could make would be to have somebody go, that wasn't that bad. Because I think what happens is, like, the parent tells the child, some horrible thing or something, and then they fear it or whatever, right? So culturally we pass on stories, but then we could get a new story, right? That I went to the dentist, I didn't have any pain, they were so nice to me, it was fantastic, right? So we can turn things around. So that was the other thing I was going to say. And sometimes when people get a coach, Taylor and AJ, they're just like, oh my God, I'm getting a coach. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to training. Right? It's the same difference. And so if we can turn it around. So everybody on this call is a difference maker plus Sylvia. Okay. So anyways, okay, now I'm putting in fifth gear and zooming ahead here. So this dentist looks at this young lady and says, I never knew all that about you. And he said, wow, I have a whole new level of respect for you. So will you tell, like, where'd you get this exercise? How did it start? And what happened as a result of it? Because I think it's absolutely brilliant.
It was a variation of Lencioni's Five Dysfunctions of a Team, kind of like that workbook that you can work through a little bit. So what we did was we did history, so siblings, hometown. We did a hardship, something you've endured, and then your hero. And it brought up a lot of things with people. Some people got pretty emotional, but there's a lot of things we didn't know about people. And before that, I'll take a step back. We did 2 truths and a lie, just so people kind of like, it was just a warm up
Yeah.
because knew people were going to be a little hesitant just to jump into kind of the heavier stuff with talking about a hardship and a hero. Cause it is, even though we see these people every day, there's times like days and weeks sometimes where you don't run into someone because there's 34 people and you're kind of bouncing around different areas. So you may not see someone. So it was good to kind of connect with a lot of people that we just don't have time to connect with. But yeah, so we did the 2 tricks and a lie first, just to kind of get everyone warmed up, learn some fun stuff about people. And then the hometown, the hardship and the hero stuff was really kind of eye-opening. I learned a lot about people that I didn't know. And I'll say after we got done, everyone, because we just did in groups of 5 or 6.
Yep.
Everyone's like, we need to do this with everyone. So we're trying to set up a time where we can just
Oh,
have
that's so good.
where everyone goes around, because it really, you get a new appreciation for people, or you understand a little bit better, like this is why maybe some things come across a certain way because they dealt with this, in childhood, or they had this happen to them. And so now they're more guarded or whatever it may be. But it really helps with how you perceive certain situations because they, perceive it a completely different way.
Yeah. And what you're saying is absolutely true. I was in a room with a group doing traction. I'm a implementer for traction as well. And so I was implementing traction with this team, and this young lady just got hired as the HR generalist. And so she's just like thrown into traction and all this stuff at the same time, but she's like a tailor. She's awesome. And so she says, well, when I was raising my brothers, like just this off the cuff thing, and we're like, raising your brothers? And we all know that she's been telling us her brothers are older than us. Well, she was the youngest, and her mom had some issues growing up. And like sometimes mom would come home, sometimes mom wouldn't come home. And
Mm,
and like then it was like from there on out, we're like, oh my God, we love this girl. We have so
right.
much respect for her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's big stuff, big stuff. All right. So I love that you guys did that. All right. So tell us your story. Both of you are, I think you're pretty driven. Like you guys are what I would call vibrant leaders. You are like, we're going to have this training. We're going to do the core values. We're going to put the vision and the mission in place. We're going to use EOS. We're going to run this thing. We're going to scale this business. I think that takes a lot of energy and drive. So AJ, what's your story? How's your leadership story been? Tell us how you got to where you are.
Yeah. I wish I had Taylor's drive at the age she's at. Like,
Oh, I know. She's a machine.
not have her drive at 28. But
28.
yeah, I wish I had her drive at 28. So I went to the University of Michigan for dental school.
Okay.
Got out of school, went and did a year in Florida of a residency, and then moved back to Cleveland for a little bit, and then moved to Charlotte in 2015, and was just kind of just not really taking things too seriously, as far as I never really wanted to open my own office. I just worked at a couple different offices. I was there. I'd show up, kind of do the work for a couple hours, come home, and that was it. So I really never had that drive. But what I realized later on, I guess it would have been 2018 or so, the drive was always there, like that entrepreneurial spirit that my dad had, where he opened the first indoor golf facility in Cleveland in the early 90s. And so we worked there. We always worked as kids. So I was
Well, that's a
probably,
good daddy.
yeah, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. We worked there.
Don't miss that. Child labor laws. Okay. He's like, get in here and sweep. Get in here and take the trash out.
I was like our caddy for it and did all the other stuff. But that was always there. That drive was always there, but my internal programming was not. So that business actually failed. And so I saw my parents kind of invest everything in that and then lose it all.
Oh,
So to see that as a kid, and then it was more of like the scarcity mindset, like, well, we can't afford this. We can't do this. We can't do this. So I migrated towards like a very safe profession. Dentistry was a very safe profession where you don't have to take a lot of risk and you can still provide for your family and do all that stuff. But it always felt like something was missing. I was never really happy just kind of doing that, but I was too afraid to take a risk. So it was probably around, I don't know, 2019, 2020. I actually hired, and it sounds kind of silly, but I hired a mindset coach because
oh, that is not silly at all. That's a very smart thing
my
to do.
my mindset was I was so afraid to take a risk. I was so afraid to do anything. So I was so afraid of losing, what I had. So that was kind of a turnaround for me. And I still talk to this guy to this day, but it took a while to kind of rewire that scarcity mindset and some of the other things I had going on. And then other courses too, strategic coach and the course I'm doing now down in Texas has been great of just changing the mindset. So for me, it was just changing that internal programming and changing my mindset to kind of get me over the hump.
Yeah, yeah. Because what's wired together fires together. So sometimes you need
Mhm.
somebody to help you rearrange what's going on in your gray matter.
Right.
Well, what is it? I'm curious if you're willing to share, what are you doing down in Texas? What program are you doing there?
So the program is through a guy named Keith Cunningham. Are you familiar with him at all?
No, I'm going to look them up. Shout out to
Mhm.
Keith.
Keith, yeah, he's incredible. So he's got a couple books that he wrote, and actually the story Rich Dad Poor Dad, the rich dad was based off of him, and so he
Really?
does business mastery courses for Tony Robbins, and then he coaches just a lot of different entrepreneurs. So he's got different things. He'll do like a 4-day MBA, and then he's got not
So
to. This isn't like an infomercial for his staff, but he's got like a 2-day kind of like retreat where you go down 3 times a year and you meet with there's 8 other entrepreneurs and you kind of go through your business at a high level. So that has been great.
That's fantastic. That's
Mhm.
fantastic.
Are you ready to build your vibrant culture? Bring Nicole Greer to speak to your leadership team, conference, or organization to help them with their strategies, systems, and smarts to increase clarity, accountability, energy, and results. Your organization will get lit from within. Email her at nicole@vibrantculture.com and be sure to check out Nicole's TEDx talk at vibrantculture.com.
Okay. And so just a last question before we move on to Taylor and her leadership journey. So how would you kind of explain your philosophy? So I think leaders need to have a way that they think, right? Like, so this is what I believe about leadership. What do you believe about leadership?
There was a quote. So I went through a period where before the mindset stuff where I started listening to just everything, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, all these
Oh,
different
and those are
things.
the classics, everybody.
There was a Zig Ziglar quote that has stuck
Yeah,
with me forever, and it's that you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. So
that's right.
it's servant leadership, but it's if you can help everyone else get what they want, you can get what you want. So it's on my computer. It's like my driving force behind everything.
That's so good. All right, Taylor, you're up. Tell us a little bit about
Man,
your leadership, your style, how'd you get it,
yeah,
and how you put it into play.
for sure. Well, I can't take all the credit myself. I grew up with two amazing parents that did everything in the world for me and my brother. But I would say, first and foremost, it started out with, like how hard workers that my mom and dad were. They both in the family and the career paths of just being dedicated to their job, going above and beyond, doing everything that they possibly can. And as I was growing up, there would be different things that would be thrown my way. And my parents were always the type that were like, let's figure it out. I joke to my dad all the time now, especially with how busy life is. I'm like, I don't know how you took the time to actually like fix these things. Cause he said it numerous times, he was like, I'm not paying somebody to do it. I'm going to figure it out myself and we'll get it done. So he was always problem solving and figuring things
Oh,
out. And
so good.
I know I would be right there beside of him, just kind of like so intrigued by it. I will say people probably referred to me as a stubborn child, growing up. But I look at it as I like to, see what my boundaries are and see how far that I can push myself. And I've got a little girl that's doing the same.
Oh, hey, see how that works. Yeah. That's
But
good.
no,
That's good. We don't want a wallflower.
no, definitely not. I grew up and, my parents made sure that we absolutely never went without, but like they also had their own struggles. We didn't always have the best of everything, and we definitely went through hard times, but somehow my mom and dad, they always made it happen. And
That's
me
right.
and my brother never had to feel like, the pressure of that. And with saying that I grew up a stubborn child, I was always that person that like somebody told me that I couldn't do it, and I'm like, no, I can. Like I will. You say I can, I don't care what it is. We're gonna make it
That's right.
happen.
It's like she read that
Or
little engine that could book with her brother, I bet.
yeah. No, as a child, I always knew, I wanted to like grow up. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to be able to have a degree, all those things. And, my dad has his high school diploma. My mom has an associate's degree. So I'm the first to have a 4-year bachelor's. And that was just a
That's
goal that I
awesome.
had set. Hell or high water, I was getting that bachelor's.
That's right.
And, life throws you curveballs, and I feel like it's very much not necessarily the curveball it throws you, it's how you handle it and how, you move forward with it. And again, I think that the doubt or the easy path has never just really been something I'm like, no, we're going to make it happen. And very much with, having a kid and being in college and still wanting to graduate on time, it's just having a drive. And when it goes into leadership, I say all of this to say is like, I feel like I can relate to people because I've not had the easy path. Nothing in life's just been handed to me. Like I've had to trial and error it or learn or have the support of family and go through the hard times. And I've worked for leaders that, weren't the best, that I knew that I didn't want to have these character traits or be like them. And truthfully, I think that trials and failures honestly has gotten me to where I'm at now because it's taught me so much. My biggest thing is relationship building. You can be a phenomenal leader and give people guidance and, checklists that they need to do. But if you aren't able to, at the end of the day, be able to have sympathy and relate to them at whatever level they're at in life, then I feel like that's kind of what sets you apart. And it's something that I'm always like, I had a mom and dad that was like, no, you can do it. You can do it. Like, just put your head to it. And I
Right.
feel like being a leader, it's kind of like that with
Yeah.
people
Yeah, I mean,
that,
leadership is like growing, mentoring parents.
yeah, it's
There we say it.
them saying they can't because they're doubting. And it's you coming back and being like, no, you can, you can do it. Like, here's my perspective of it. Here's what I'm thinking. I know that you're looking at it from this negative thing, but guess what? You have the support of us. We're going to ensure that we give you everything to be able to get you there. My thing, leadership, is a lot of thinking about others before it's thinking about yourself.
So there's that thread of servant leadership coming through in the mental dentistry practice. That's so beautiful. I love it. Okay, so I want to hear a little bit about teaming, right? So, hopefully everybody listening's been to the dentist. And so we know you walk in, somebody greets you, right? And then they say, have a seat. And then somebody comes out and gets you, sits you down, cleans your teeth. The doc comes through, and then you have the checkout. So tell me a little bit about how you train people, what's important in training, and how you
Mhm.
get teams to work together. So it's an absolute huge thing to get that all seamless.
Well, from my side of things, which may be different from Dr. Tremont, is the first thing that I tell people is communicate. Talk to that patient. You're not just here to click on the screen and check them in and check them out. You're here to help them to be the relief. So, like, talk to them. How was your day? Or how was your appointment? You can tell something's bothering them. Just like have a conversation because what people don't understand is it just asking somebody how your day is can make or break it for a patient. And just being able to sit there and take the time because I feel like we live in such a fast-paced society.
Oh my God, it's
Being
frenetic
able
out
to,
there.
yeah, just take time and just talk to them like just a human being and not just make it transactional because I feel like a lot of things in this day and age are so transactional. And remembering the little things, make a note on that account that their kids start in college or they're getting married or
Oh, I
they've
love
got,
that.
make the note that when they come back in, be like, hey, how was that wedding? Or how's your daughter doing? Or did she get married? How was the honeymoon? And I heard you're going to be a new grandpa. Like, is that baby here yet? Like, just, it's the little things that always make the difference. So for me, when I talk to employees or potential new hires, I'm like, I don't want you to be in here like you're working production. Like, we aren't that type of facility. I want you to talk to patients. I want you to build the relationship. I want you, if they ask for a hug, to be able to give them a hug, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, and I will tell you, I recently just had an experience. I went to a healthcare provider, and there's big giant sign on the door before you walk in that says, "Go to kiosk, fill out the thing,
Yeah.
have a seat. Somebody will call you." And I was like, "Okay."
Mhm.
What if I had a question? What if I don't know what a
Right.
kiosk is? I mean, like it was just like technology to the max. I was like, this is terrible. All right, so don't miss that. I love that. Okay, AJ, your turn.
When we look at our reviews, like a lot of them are, it's not like, oh, the dentist did, such precise work. Not that we don't, but it's like they were friendly, like
Right.
everything. If you look at all of them, It's like they were friendly, they were nice, they were so kind to me, they helped me with this. It's like that's what people want. Obviously, you have to do really good dentistry as well with it. But what people are, they're they're coming for a feeling. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like Taylor mentioned earlier, they're anxious, they're scared. I mean, money's an issue. There's all
Oh,
these
yeah.
things that come to it. So if you can put them at ease right from the get-go, it makes a huge difference. And the people that don't, like this is a well-established practice. So the people that come in that don't kind of fall in line, it's very obvious very quickly. Like the departments really self-police really well, and they'll come to us and like this person's just
A good fit.
not a good fit. No,
Mm.
like you may not see it yet, but like they are not a good fit. They're not treating people the way that, people have been treated for 40 years here. So it roots itself out pretty quick. And I know it sounds cliche, but we always treat people like friends and family. Like if someone comes in and they need something, I'll look at an x-ray and I'll tell them, a couple different options. And they're like, well, what do you think? What should I do? And I'm like, if you were my mom, dad, brother, like I would
Right.
tell you to do this. And it's true. And then like we all kind of follow that principle. So that's why it's been able to be built into such a big thing because it's trust. Like when I go get something done on my car, I have no idea, but if I know I can trust them, yeah, let's do it. And they come, it's the same way. They come, I could talk to them about, enamel and all these different things. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So it's really just, it's all about just building trust with people, but you actually have to be genuine and truthful about things. You can't, fake it. It's got to be a genuine thing where you genuinely care about people from the very first check-in to check out to the treatment they have. And that's how you're able to build a really good practice. It takes time, but that's how you build a good long-term practice.
Yeah. And so I want to just talk like the business side of things for a second because, somebody might be listening to this going, well, do they make any money? I mean, they're so nice. They're going slow. I mean, and Taylor made this big statement. She says, we're not like a big, huge production thing. But I bet you are getting a few patients through there in a day. I bet you got your scheduling dialed in. So how do you balance? Because, here's the thing about scaling is that we can buy another practice, we can
Mhm.
build another practice, we can put more people to work, we can hire people, we can promote Sylvia to a Taylor position. I mean, there's all sorts of great things that come with scaling. So how do
Yeah.
you balance like we need to make money and we need to take care of everybody? Because you can do it. And I think you guys are.
You can. Yeah,
Yeah.
to me, they're independent things. Like you can have both. And it
Yes.
seems like it's always a thing where people are like, oh, well, it's one or the other. Either you treat people well or it's just a mill and you make money. But I found it to be the opposite. Like the more
I
you take
agree.
care of people, the more referrals we have. Like without getting into the numbers of things, whenever we go down to our accountants who have, hundreds of dental practices, and you can compare them, they're always like, you guys are in the top 1% of that stuff. So you can do both. It just has to be done the right way. Like if Taylor and I were talking about this earlier, and Taylor made the comment that like, if you invest in your staff and you take care of patients, like all the other stuff comes. Like
That's
if you
right.
try to nickel and dime certain things here or, cut corners here and there to make an extra buck in the short term, maybe it's better. But in the long term, to build what we have, like you have to do it this way. Like, I mean, you can do it the other way, but you're going to have staff turnover. You're going to have to constantly be getting 100 new patients in the door because you have patients constantly leaving. So it's a little bit of a change in mindset, but we pay close attention to the numbers, but all of
I'm
our
sure.
decisions are based off of, what is the best for patient experience and what is the best for the team. Those are our two guiding factors in any decision we make. And yes, we have to make money, but by following these, again, I know it sounds like it's kind of BS, but it really does. I've found it to work the opposite of what most people would think.
That's right. That's right. And here's the thing, you don't have to nickel and dime. You provide high value and people are willing to pay a little bit more to
Yeah.
go see Dr. Tremont, right? Because he's going to treat me right. He's going to treat me like he's my son and he's going to say this is what I would do with your enamel.
Right.
Again, I think like the biggest thing is at the end of the day, you're a business, right? Have to
Right. We
make
have
money.
to we have
Yeah,
to or we're all going home
operate.
and getting our
But
resumes together.
I look at it as like Tremont said, it's one like they can be independent, but if you do it correctly, it meshes so well together.
Yeah.
And when I say like, I don't want you just to check patient in and say, okay, Mr. Smith, we got you checked in, you're good. How's your day? When you build that relationship, from that initial moment that that patient walks through that door and you take them back. And when you're walking them to that room, you're having that small conversation and not just quiet. You're building a relationship. You're gaining that trust. You're giving them something to be able to relate to you and know that you're not just a person that's holding a scalpel trying to clean your teeth. You know, you're a human. And one thing that I feel like we do so well is we have that conversation with our patients. If they need work, we're sitting here and we're telling them, hey, this is why you're needing this. If they have questions or they need to come back and talk about it again because they're just not so sure on the treatment because maybe they did come from somewhere else, it's telling them something completely different. We're taking the extra time to ensure that we're doing everything in our power to make them comfortable when they're here. And when you do that, that's what builds that trust. That's what locks that patient in with coming back to this practice is they know that they can talk to you.
And we could cut costs on certain things where we saved a couple extra bucks, where you go down in quality a little bit. We could force more patients in the schedule to add to that as well.
Right.
Yeah, like burnout is real. Like, especially in the dental field, burnout is very real. And if you burn these people out and you're having turnover, like that is more detrimental to a balance sheet and a P&L than anything. So it's like, you got to take care of the people first. Like that is absolutely the most important thing. Patient experience and like the rest of the stuff, you got to pay attention to it. And we review these things all the time, but that can't be the driving force.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, we are at the top of the hour. I can't believe it. An hour just flew by. But here's what we're going to do to finish us off. I bet you guys each have one little nugget of wisdom, one little spark you want to throw out there to the people that are listening. You say, well, bottom line in it, this is what it means to be in business, to be a leader, to be an awesome person trying to build a vibrant culture. What little piece of advice would you give to somebody?
Mine would be, don't be afraid to fail and fail fast.
Yeah, like, be messy.
Yeah, if you're going to, there's a Jim Collins quote that always talks about, I think it's fire bullets before cannonballs. So don't just jump in and take, risks without having any idea what you're doing. But at the same time, don't be afraid to fail. I think I was so afraid to fail for a long time that it was going to hold me back. And failing quickly, like make a decision. Just make it, because you're going to get to that answer quicker, especially if you have really resourceful people on your team, kind of like Taylor, where it's like, we're going to figure it out. And if this isn't it, we'll figure out the next thing. So it's just having that mentality of like, no matter what it is, we're going to figure it out. But just don't be afraid to fail, because it took me so long to get over that.
Yeah.
And now that we're in it and we have had failures, it's like, all right, well, now what? Like, let's figure it out. And it's not as bad as you think it is. It's like, okay, if we hadn't done that, we probably wouldn't have figured this out.
That's right. That's right.
We would have never figured this out. We would have never gotten here. And like the people that actually build things, they fail all the time.
100%.
So it's just, don't be afraid of failure and fail quickly.
Yeah. I love it. Excellent. All right, Taylor, bring us home. Give us one more nugget, one little spark of wisdom so that we can be more vibrant.
My thing is conversation. I feel like you can't do anything without conversation, communication. And I'm talking about the ones that you don't want to have to.
We'll talk about that a second. Mm-hmm.
I think that you have to have conversations, even if you have difference in opinions, even if you have difference in outlooks, because the thing is, if you sit on it, one, you're going to always be wondering, well, what if I would have said that? Maybe it would have changed something. And if you do say it and it doesn't change anything, it's at least something that has been addressed. It's in the back of their mind. It may not be the answer now, but it could be down the road. And I think that keeping people happy is, you have to have conversations you don't want to have, but you also have to listen. So communication is so big, and just being able to let an employee come to you and vent and talk, and vendors too, vent and talk. It's just being that kind of like neutral and safe ground of knowing that, hey, I've got a lot of like steam built up right now, and I just need to let it go. And then they let it go. And I can't tell you how many times they've come back and they're like, hey, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, don't be sorry. Like, I want you to be able to be expressive of those things. Or even if you disagree with me, I want you to tell me, because I want to know where you're coming from.
Right. That's this thing called healthy conflict. Oh, it's so good, right? Oh, I love what you guys are saying. All right. So tell us where the 4 locations are, in case we're like, I need a new dentist. These people seem nice. Where should people go? So tell us where you're located and all those things.
So we've got one in Midhill Dentistry. Then there's one out in Concord area, close to you. And then there's one out in Albemarle, and then there's one down in the Ballantyne area as well. So we're kind of spread out in all the different areas.
Okay. What website would we go to find out where to
We
go?
actually have different websites for all of them.
Okay. Well, lay them on us real quick, and we'll put them in the show notes
right.
too.
Sure. So the one is midhilldentistry.com.
Okay.
The other is southerncharmdenistry.nc.com.
That's the one in
And then
Concord.
Yep. And then the albemarledentistry.com is the one in Albemarle. And then the Ballantyne one is just a separate thing.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Well, listen, I have loved being with you guys again. I'm so grateful that I got to play hard with you guys a couple months back. And I just wish you all, we're recording this in December. It probably won't air till February, but I just want to wish you two a happy holidays. And I'm so grateful. It's been a present to have presents with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for everything you did for us too.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe here and ring that notification bell so you don't miss an episode. Your support helps us grow and reach more like-minded leaders committed to building vibrant cultures. Remember, the journey to building a vibrant culture never stops. Stay inspired, keep nurturing your vibrant culture, and we can't wait to reconnect with you on the next episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast.